Alright, hey everyone. So I got to talk about last night's Final Four in the women's side. Definitely had a big upset that didn't bust our brackets, but we knew ahead of time, you want to put down a bet on Iowa Hawkeyes to upset the defending champs, South Carolina Gamecocks. And exactly, here's the reason why right here. South Carolina Gamecocks equates to 361 in reverse, meaning when you flip the alphabetical order, A is 26 and Z is 1. Add up the sum of your letters here and it equals 361, right? And that's exactly what happened with South Carolina. They came into the game 36-0, undefeated on a 42-game win streak up until the Hawkeyes, defeated them last night. So you had South Carolina, they fell to 36-1. Notice Iowa won with 77 points. Yesterday had 77 date numerology along with 41 date numerology, just like how their star player, Caitlin Clark, had 41 points, which I'll talk to you about in a little bit. But yeah, what are the odds? South Carolina had eyes on them to get upset today. they didn't get upset in their last game or the previous game. Didn't fall to 35-1 or 34-1. Exactly 3-6-1 on the nose, right? And so just talking about Caitlin Clark and how she had 41, well, I want people to recognize too that she also had 41 in the Elite 8 game too. That was on Sunday, March 26th. And just talking about Caitlin, how she won, the National Player of the Year, and then Dawn Staley of the South Carolina Gamecocks, the coach, Dawn Staley, got the Coach of the Year. I'm going to talk about both of them, but starting with Caitlin Clark, I just want to show you how scripted this league was for her this season. Just down to the NCAA tournament here. So you have Caitlin Clark scoring 41 in 2 of the games, and the Elite 8 game was held on March 26th. And to begin with, that was the 85th day of the year, and Caitlin Clark equates to 85, just like basketball equals 85. And notice that she wears number 22. Basketball equates to 22. She was born on the 22nd day of the year, January 22nd of 2002, like another 22. But just to show how last night we were curious about her last night, because we in the Elite 8 game, we already had on Patreon, we already had eyes on her. Like I already stated, I'm sure she's going to have a hot game because the numbers seem aligned for her with the 85s. And then here in last night's game, in the Final Four, when they beat South Carolina, again, I had that in my notes to keep eyes on Caitlin Clark with her alignment because it was exactly 68 days after her birthday yesterday. And basketball also equates to 68. March Madness, there's 68 teams in the tournament. And notice here that March Madness was founded in 1982. That was the first year that the Women's March Madness was held. So technically this is the 41st tournament on the women's side of it all, just like how she keeps scoring 41, and then it's in Dallas. This whole championship game plus last night's game was in Dallas, 41, right? So how much perfect can you get there? And just seeing how those days and how those schedules were just perfect for Caitlin on the 85th day and then 68 days after her birthday. Definitely a big clue to why we had our eyes on Iowa to upset South Carolina, but obviously South Carolina 361 was the ticket. And then talking about Dawn Staley, just like how I mentioned, I took a screenshot just right now showing that South Carolina was on a 42-game winning streak and it ended 36-1. Well, Dawn Staley, talking about the number 42, you'll notice that this blog is from November of 2021, whenever Dawn Staley made the headlines, becoming the highest paid black head coach in women's basketball. And she got a 7-year deal for $22.4 million. So, emphasis on black here, because Okay, how do I want to start this? So anyways, so October 15th, 2021, that's when she got this massive 7-year deal, being the highest paid black coach. And of course that happened 201 days to her upcoming birthday. But I want you to see that highest paid black coach equates to 402. Drop that 0, it's like 42. And then, of course, her first name, Dawn, equates to 42, and the N-word, 42, slavery, 42, 7-year deal, 7-year, 42. We know the list of 42s, but if you're new here, Jackie Robinson wore number 42. Jackie equals 42. Huxtable, like the Huxtable family on Crosby Show, and then Martin, the sitcom, he lived in apartment number 42. Just so many 42s to just go with, but just showing, like, even in her history, showing more 42s is on the date 4/2, April 2nd of 2020. Staley became the first person to win a Naismith Award as a player and as a coach. And notice back in her playing days, she wore number 5. When you write out the word 5, it equates to 42. And I mean, that just makes me think about how she was the USA Olympic basketball coach this past season, or this past Olympic. And, they brought home their 5th gold, the U.S. women's basketball team. And I mean, and she was the one, I think, that even carried out the flag before the game, or however they do it. And, talking about the USA team, USA equates to 5, just like that's what we know her as. Or, I grew up watching her for Charlotte Sting, number 5. And then a few things to point out about the contract. Speaking of Jackie Robinson, her contract ends on Jackie Robinson Day in 2028, April 15th. And just note that 2028 will be a leap year, so that means April 15th, when her contract ends, it's going to be on the 106th day of the year, just like how you have Black Lives Matter equals 106, a bunch of 106, but just again, like how she was, getting called out for being the highest paid black coach. Black even equates to 106, like 6, like Negroes, I Can't Breathe, Black Power. But I want to show you this. So this has been updated since her loss last night, and you can see that Dawn Staley, let me see if I can get it zoomed in. Dawn Staley with South Carolina as a coach, she's 402 and 106. So she got her 106th loss last night. And I mean, just think about that. And plus the 402's in there, highest black paid coach equals 402. And they just lost, on their 42 game winning streak. And just talking about, those are the numbers that I blogged about with Dawn Staley, almost a year and a half ago now. And it's literally like the only numbers I talk about is 42, besides 124. 124 is huge with Dawn Staley because her birthday is May 4th, for everyone who don't know. May 4th is the 124th day of the year. Dawn Staley equates to 124, like Women's National Basketball Association equals 124. I mean, it just basically just tells me, like, why she's the hot name of the league, and, like, she's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time, player and coach. So, I mean, but yeah, just seeing all the 106s and the 42s we're talking about, and then that's what she ends up with overall with South Carolina. I mean, but that's not it. I've got to show you, this is in my notes on Patreon, that the opposing coach, Lisa Blutter, however you say her name, she is born April 16th, and I'll just pull that up right now. April 16th. I just have to show you that that's the 106th day of the year with 259 remaining, right? And so what's interesting about that is, speaking of, Black Lives Matter and talking about Dawn Staley and 42, 106, Black Lives Matter has the 106 and 259. So it's like the opposing coach has the perfect birthday to give the black coach her 106th loss, right? I mean, I don't know how else better that was set up. I mean, you got to think about how scripted all these games have to be for it to come down to that. For the final 4 games out of all 68 teams, and the dates are very important. I mean, that's what clues us in to know who's gonna more likely, be in the games. The dates are very important. I mean, anyways, so I had to share that about Dawn Staley. Didn't want that to be left out or, you know, overlooked because, you know, I mean, she's the hot name of the league. And yeah, I just immediately was like thinking like, I gotta go back and see if this has any connection. Of course, yeah, what are the odds? And, you know, just speaking about this year's tournament, I mean, this is the first time I've ever really followed March Madness, like, especially using Gematria and all that. But I'm excited to say that we're doing really well because I did have Indiana in there. I liked Indiana because, you know, the state is 206 years old right now, and March Madness equals 206. But once they fell out, then, you know, I started looking at LSU because LSU, you know, we'll talk about it more. I have my pregame notes up for the championship tomorrow and stuff. But, I mean, you just got to realize how just down to the, like, it's just wild, right? So anyways, our brackets didn't get busted last night, but I'm sure like everybody else's, I guarantee everybody had South Carolina in the championship because that's what, you know, the league and, you know, just TV, all that advertisement stuff, just been pushing them all season long that they were going to repeat. But I mean, that's a red flag right there. You can't fall for everything you see on TV, here on TV for sure. But anyways, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to share. But I mean, now you can realize that why Caitlin Clark keeps hitting 41. Now she got her team to Dallas, you know, 41, the 41st tournament. And then speaking of 41, do you guys realize who won the very first tournament? I mean, who's still in it? Kim Mulkey, right? Kim Mulkey was part of the 1982 Louisiana Tech team who won the very first ever, you know, championship. You know, that was 41 years ago. So anyways, we'll leave it there, but all right, see ya.